Maybe this is all Christopher Judge's fault. Kratos' voice actor gave a 7-minute, 59-second speech at last year's Video Game Awards, and it went so long and became so memeable that basically this year, Jeff Keighley had his finger on the button to play people out after about 20 seconds. And while I do think that there needs to be some momentum kept in an award show, especially one that lasts 3 hours, 3.5 if you're including the 30-minute pre-show, yeah, absolutely, you got to kind of keep the ball rolling and get things moving. But you got to give credit to where it's due, and this is the creator's time to shine. And I did not see that tonight at the Game Awards. I think we celebrated video games. I don't think we celebrated video game developers. And if we're not going to do it now, when are we going to do it? And I think that's the biggest disappointment that I have about the Game Awards as a whole. And The Verge actually is the very first thing they point out in their highlights. Jeff Keighley let video game developers down. And they are 100% right. How amazing 2023 was. I did my video some time ago working through all the nominees, trying to decipher what I thought the game of the year should be. I still maintain it should be Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But I'm not sad Baldur's Gate 3 won by any stretch of the imagination, actually. I'm going to try to play that at some point soon. My backlog is just monumental. And this year was amazing. Next year looks amazing. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But there were so many layoffs and so much bad corporate management. I just did a video the other day on how screwed up Bungie is. The second video I've done. The first about that horrible job interview experience I have. And the second one about recently the kind of hostile, quote unquote, takeover of Sony taking over Bungie. So that's just recent in the news. There were more. There were a lot of layoffs. There's a lot of concerns, a lot of buyouts and merges and companies buying and deleting and moving around IPs. And all along, the developers have been really kind of dealt a really raw deal, which is very unfortunate. So this would have been the time I feel like Jeff could have spoke up and said something. The nice thing about the Video Game Awards as a whole is it's kind of always been like a neutral ground. You don't necessarily cater to anything other than Hideo Kojima. You don't have to have a bias towards one console or another, or even PC versus console. It's just gaming. It's in the title. And I like that. And we've gotten away from that largely. Really, when E3 went away, you lost some of that global commentary on what you expected to see throughout the year. And a lot of times you'd have like the E3 Coliseum, or you'd have other, more prominent journalists talking about their opinions on the industry. And when E3 went away and everybody kind of stovepiped into their respective content creators, you lost a lot of that. So when I was loading up the stream, I noticed there was a lot of people watching, close to 1 million on YouTube. That doesn't even count the co-streams or anybody else who was doing stuff. I think Doc had like 30 or 40,000 people watching. A lot of people were doing it on Twitch. I think they were on Twitter this year. They might have been on TikTok. I don't know. They were everywhere. And I'm sure Jeff will release those numbers later. But a healthy amount of people, all eyes on you, Jeff Keighley, who's kind of neutral. You don't really have a bias to anything except for Hideo Kojima, of course. And he didn't do a very good job of talking about that. And we really thought that he would have kind of said something, and he didn't. And even if he didn't, to let his actions speak louder than his initial introductions, he didn't give the creators a long time to speak, which I think was a major oversight. Why do we do the Game Awards shows? And I know a lot of people, selfishly, myself included, want to see all the new trailers and want to see the world premieres. And this is a place where it's kind of a mid-season update. I mean, let's be real. A lot of people are not saving their news for Gamescom, even though it's kind of replaced E3. You're definitely not getting major announcements at like the Tokyo Game Show or Paris Games Week. You're really getting it at what used to be E3, now morphed into each independent studio's respective online showcases, and the Game Awards. Those are the only two major drops you're getting each year. The Game Awards, recall, was the place where we at first saw the Xbox Series X. Like, that was a big announcement. There's been a lot of big announcements and a lot of cool games that have come out, and that's really, really exciting. But what is so frustrating is that despite all that, and despite the hype of everybody watching for the trailers, it's the Game Awards show. It's not called the trailer show, and I think we've lost sight of that. And again, that's what people want to see, but that's not what the industry needs. I think the industry does need to really kind of band together into more of an award show. Yes, truncate it down. It doesn't need to be 7 hours of Christopher Judge talking about his elementary school teacher, but it's nice to hear some of the people and the passion behind the games, and that does sting a little bit. There was a lot of announcements. I'm looking through here. The one that didn't make the list is actually my most hyped moment, and that was that Visions of Mana is coming. I did not see this game coming at all. It's going to be the next iteration of the Mana series in a 3D environment. They showed very, very little gameplay footage of it, but if it captures my imagination in the way Secret of Mana captured my innate imagination as a child, I'm all in. That's day one for me. There was some Final Fantasy DLC that was announced. There was this really crazy God of War Ragnarok DLC that was announced. It's coming out in just 5 days. Hideo Kojima took the stage to talk about his new game, OD. And it turns out he's working with Jordan Peele on the game, which is fascinating. Sean Murray and the guys over at Hello Games announced that No Man's Sky is going to still be a thing, but they've announced a new game, Light No Fire. I have no faith in this guy. I've talked about this. It's one of my lowest rated videos ever, talking about how disappointed I was in the No Man's Sky game. And while the game has morphed and you've seen, like 9 or 10 years worth of content and upgrades, lest we forget how that game started and the sheer amount of lying that was done to us, I will definitely not be an early adopter of Light No Fire anytime soon. Arcane Leon is making a Blade game that takes place in France, which is insane. Arcane is my favorite studio in the planet. I'm shocked that they got the rights to this, especially after the disaster that was Redfall, but I'm sure this game has been in development for a while. So maybe had they seen Redfall, they would have changed their mind. I'm not really sure. 3 hours worth of content. Monster Hunter Wilds. Lots of the orchestra came out and played. There was a live band that came out and played, the Old Gods of Asgard. Lots of celebrity judges, and not really judges, but like announcers. News that we were getting a Twisted Metal Season 2 coming out. A little bit more footage and little kind of sneak preview of the Fallout television show. Power Armor, T-51B was on stage in the flesh. We got to see the armor. It looks amazing. I can't wait to see how that looks in the television show when that comes out next year. As Dusk Falls is coming to PlayStation. That was a game that was exciting. Skull and Bones is supposedly coming out again too. We got a little musical presentation of the theme song of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which was sung live by the artists on stage with the game orchestra band, which was really, really cool. I'm looking through some of the other ones that really kind of caught my attention. Lost Records, Bloom and Rage looks good. It's from Don't Nod, who made Life is Strange, one of the best games I've ever played. I did not realize I could relate so much to a teenage girl's plight the way I did in Life is Strange, and how emotionally impactful that game was for me. And everybody I've talked to, how much they adored that game. It was phenomenal. So I'm super excited that Don't Nod is doing something. It looks a little bit more mature. Looks like a bunch of girls had something happen to them, and years later they're reflecting on it or looking into it. I don't know if they get superhero powers or what. It was very vague, but it looked amazing just because the tone of that game, if it's anything like Life is Strange, but with adults, it's going to be so much easier for me to relate to. And I'm really, really excited for that. Rise of the Ronin, the new Team Ninja game that's coming out. exclusively on PlayStation. Looks really, really good. Kind of open world, Ghost of Tsushima, a little bit of Assassin's Creed thrown in there with guns. That looks really, really fun. And then the one, I'm going to end on this one because I don't want to just do a recap of everything, but the ones that really stuck out to me, my top three, definitely Visions of Mana, God of War Ragnarok, and this Sega trailer, which really caught me off guard. It was just a really feel-good announcement. They're working on Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi are all getting new titles. And they showed snippets of all of them. It was like a 5-in-1 kind of super trailer. And I'm so excited because I remember being a kid and playing the hell out of these games. And I loved Golden Axe. God, I love Golden Axe so much. I'm so excited that we're going to get to see something like that. Looks like it takes place in a 3D realm, kind of like what Visions of Mana did with their, with the Visions of Mana did to the Secret of Mana franchise there. Streets of Rage, of course, iconic. We just had Streets of Rage 4. I will always take more beat 'em ups. Crazy Taxi, super exciting. So I think that was really amazing. It caught me off guard. So if Sega's really kind of like doubling down on the classics and making them more viable in today's game space, let's go. I mean, I'm tired of buying the remasters. I'd love to get something new in my hands. Didn't see Outrun on that list, and that's unfortunate, but there's still time. All in all, despite my initial criticisms early on of Jeff Keighley not giving the creators their moment to shine, this was probably the best Game Awards I think I have seen, period. In terms of, it didn't feel to me like it was dragging. There were tons and tons of high quality announcements. There wasn't a lot of weird advertisement gimmicks. We didn't have like the Gillette razor man. It seemed like it flowed well. They definitely continue to rush over the awards. Now they're rushing over the people talking about the awards. But other than that, it was a phenomenal show. So good job, Jeff. I'm super excited to see what comes back next year. And I will post a link to this Verge article. Out of all of the articles and summaries I've read, this one I think did a really good job of kind of hitting the major highlights. So I'll post a link to them in the description below. So go check that out. And yeah, we'll be back. Jeff Keighley's confirmed there will be back again next year towards mid-December, back at the Los Angeles Convention Center or Arena or wherever the hell it was. It looked packed. Which was great. Unless they forced everybody to move down and they like ripped all the seats out in the back. But it looked like it was a fun time. And it was even self-aware. You know, Chris Judge, they were making fun of Chris Judge. Chris Judge was making fun of himself. He made fun of Call of Duty. It was good. I mean, it was good. I want more of that punchy stuff for next year. If anybody wants to call and give, wants my opinion on it, yeah, make more bold, scathing statements about the industry, because while you can kind of present it as a joke, it's something everybody was thinking. And I was watching the chat explode when Chris Judge said his initial speech was longer than Call of Duty's campaign. That was a really good one. So good job, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.